Hello, hello. Welcome back to the third episode of the Tech and Tea podcast. I'm Emmanuel Jordan. I'm joined by my iconic co-host.
Justin Fraction. I almost forgot my name. Sorry.
But for today's episode, we're going to do a November recap of all the top tech headlines from November. But before we get into that, Justin, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was a moment in time that existed, and now it is gone, and I miss it dearly.
Okay.
How was yours?
It was good. It was very eventful. We were on mac and cheese duty.
Oh, yes.
Yes. We had a Friendsgiving, and we kind of, fumbled the mac and cheese on that one. Partly my fault, partly not my fault. But the important thing is the mac and cheese for Thanksgiving, 10 out of 10. It was amazing. It was not soupy. It was perfect. So we redeemed ourselves.
With the soupy.
Soupy.
We will never. I feel so bad. Oh,
yeah.
We're referring to a content creator on TikTok who is the nicest, kindest, sweetest person in the world, who got a lot of backlash for her mac and cheese, and to the point where it was affecting her enough to talk about it. How much backlash she's getting. And I felt, and she was like getting married. She's like, I'm not worried about this because I'm getting married right now. Then she came back from the wedding, and then she's like, y'all still talk about this mac and cheese? That's how the internet works. Speaking of internet, we have some internet topics today too. I'm excited to get into them.
Yes. So some topics that I brought to the table. Everyone is leaving Twitter for Bluesky. That was a big thing in November. Perplexity AI now has ads and new shopping features. Jaguar faced a lot of backlash over their bold rebrand and ad campaign. And one of YouTube's AI creator tools has finally launched. What did you bring, Justin?
We have Tim Cook defending the Apple Vision Pro. Streaming services returning to traditional TV formats, which everyone predicted would happen at some point, more or less. Spotify Wraps AI-powered features. I know you'll be making a video on that later, but yes. I just wanted to talk about it. I listened to mine yesterday, and I have a lot to say.
Okay.
And Brainwave reading temporary tattoos.
Oh, I did not hear about that one.
Oh, it's quite the topic.
Okay, so let's talk about Bluesky and Twitter, or X, but I prefer to just call it by its original name.
It's always going to be Twitter. I don't care what he does to it. It's Twitter.
Yeah, so pull that up. So yeah, November, the big headline was that Bluesky crossed 15 million users. And this was a pretty big deal. It was also number one in the Apple Store. And yeah, so the big thing with Twitter, as we all know, is that it has had a lot of changes. Of course, yeah, just a few, like one or two tweaks. It's not like I'm getting, Cyber Monday ads to subscribe to Twitter Premium. For 15
ads for trapping fish in a pond in South Dakota.
It's been bad. The app has definitely gone downhill. And so with that, of course, and this has been happening since Elon Musk took over the app. But, they've been creating a couple new, Twitter-like apps on the side. And one of them is actually Bluesky, which was actually started by the original CEO of Twitter. And he started it. Yeah, it was actually like a little side project that was supposed to be open source. So the original plan was to merge Twitter and make Twitter basically open source. That was the end goal. But then he ended up leaving Twitter. Then he left Bluesky, and then someone else took over Bluesky, and they've just been, doing the thing with it ever since. And last month they crossed over 15 million users, and that's a pretty big deal. For Twitter, first of all, because it might be the end of that amazing app that we all used to love. But Justin, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about Twitter in its current state? Are you on Bluesky? Where can we follow you?
I deleted my once formerly popular, once blue check verified Twitter account. And it was hard to say goodbye. Well, let me put it. It would have been hard to say goodbye maybe 5 years ago, but I was ready to go and get off the platform. I have been on Bluesky since the early beta. I got invited, and it was pretty boring. but you can see the potential. And as time has gone on, they've become more and more Twitter-like. There's even a Bluesky client that you can use that looks almost exactly like Twitter. And so it's been, I've seen a lot of my friends online switch from one platform to the other. I've seen a lot of celebrities switch from one platform to the other. I saw like Mark Hamill last night tweeting. I'm like, whoa, okay, sure, that's awesome. And I think where the celebrities go and the people go, and hopefully more companies will go. I've seen that happen more frequently in the past few weeks. I'm like, oh, wait, I know them. They're on here now. Uh, I think it will slowly hurt Twitter, but it's really hard to hurt a juggernaut like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel the same. I don't think it'll hurt it as quick as people think. Because there has been other apps that have popped up that are similar to Twitter, like Threads. Are you on? Did you ever try out Threads?
Oh, I did, and it was the most boring app ever created. I was disgusted. I don't even know who I can't see who I'm talking to. Who talking? It's very. See, here's the problem. These companies will say, well, what do you want from your social media clients? And then we'll go, okay, we want a timeline that just shows our friends. They're like, no, let's inject some more tweets into it, some more things into it that you don't want to see. You're like, I just want a timeline that's in order of the posts that were put up. No, we're going to throw some old ones up here that you might have missed. See, they don't listen. But Bluesky is just straightforward, no algorithm. Here is what you are. Here's what this person said at this time, and then the person after and after and after. And Threads, being of course a meta product, just does not care what people want. There are a lot of people on Threads that are like, I like Threads, but can you please change this? And they're like, no.
So Bluesky, we'll see what the future holds for you in the next year. But Justin, what do you want to talk about?
Tim Cook, our dear sweet friend Tim Cook. You know how much I love the iPhone and all Apple products, but even though I don't use most of them, he's defending the Vision Pro sales by calling it an early. Didn't you make a joke about this? It's an early adopter product.
Oh,
See,
of
this isn't the
course.
actual product. See, this is just a test. And
Right.
we're gonna the next one gonna be even better. But that $3,499 price tag. And yeah, there's literally no acknowledgement that it shuts out a lot of people whenever they're trying to look for things that they want to buy, and also that there is another market out there, or rather, other products out there that appeal to this market that is interested in VR at all. It's we're Apple, we're first, we're the best. There'll be another one. It'll be even better. But they did do the same thing with the iPad when people didn't know what the iPad was for. It's still very much around. I can't think of many products that Apple has had in my lifetime which is only 27 years. That has disappeared. Not 27. That has disappeared except for like maybe. Is there still an iPod out there?
No, I wish. I never got a chance to have one. I wish the iPod was still around.
Oh, because it was a little before your time.
Yeah,
But
no,
yes.
I was around for the iPod. I just didn't have the wealth that you have.
Well, I was older. Someone said that to me yesterday. The wealth. I'm like, oh, they got that from Emmanuel.
Yeah,
It was Kush, actually. Yes. Shout out to Kush. What do you think they could do to make this product successful to a wider audience?
To a wider audience. Well, first, I'm not surprised that he was defending it, because what else can you really do when your product does not do well in sales? I feel like, for one, lowering the price, which there were some rumors that they were thinking about making an entry level version of the Vision Pro. And I think that's really the only thing they can do. It's just lower the price. I mean, when we look up the Oculus or any other VR headsets, they are not going to cost you a house, a car, and a kidney. So I think just the price is, because VR headsets, I mean, people use them. There's definitely a market for it, but the price is just, it's not worth it. And I think we kind of talked about this in an episode ago, but I think they assumed that the Apple following that they had was going to follow them through thick and thin and $3,000. And that was not the case. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see if they actually take Justin's advice, which we all should. We should all be taking your advice. It'll be interesting to see if they actually come out with a new one next year, or if it'll be a couple years before we actually.
I can barely tie my shoe. Take my advice.
But in the meantime, between time, let's talk about Perplexity and some of the new changes they've added to the platform. So last month, they added some new things. One of them was ads, and another one was a new feature that will allow you to buy products from Perplexity, which, if you don't know, it's an AI search engine. And with this new feature called Buy with Pro, you'll be able to buy certain products and get free shipping on them. So, as someone who was new to Perplexity, which Justin actually put me on, I was actually kind of excited about this. I was like, oh, wow, that's actually like a really cool feature. The holidays are here, as you can tell. And so I was like, okay.
Oh, that's right. Wait, you gotta show off the festive shirt.
Yes, the festive shirt. You'll see it in a video coming up soon. Yes, yes, bought it just for that. But Justin, how do you feel about this new feature? And before we get into the other feature, how do you feel about being able to buy products from Perplexity and get some free shipping?
It's okay, but the thing that made Perplexity special to me, which is why I try to put people on it, is that whenever you ask it a question and it gives you an answer, it gives you the sources. It tells
Yeah.
you exactly where it came from, which helps you avoid having to deal with illusions or I forget, hallucinations is what they call them on like Chat
Mm,
GPT. And for someone that writes things, it's extra helpful because you don't want to cite a source that doesn't exist or
exactly.
mention a fact that isn't true. So I think people will be fine with this feature. I'm okay with the feature because I think it has enough value on its own to keep using it.
So when this was announced, everyone was like, oh, free shipping. Then, come to find out, they actually announced another feature where they're going to be having ads on the platform now. Let me
Ooh.
pull. So let's talk about it. Perplexity has begun experimenting with ads in the US, presenting them as sponsored follow-up questions and clearly labeling them as sponsored. Now, the company did emphasize that these ads will not influence the objectivity of its AI generated answers. Now, this one, from a business standpoint, I do understand like how else can you make money as a platform? But as a user, I was really disappointed because for one, like you said, I really liked Perplexity because it actually gave me the sources and it was a really clean interface. There was no pop-up ads or anything like that. But with this now, I don't know. I'm just like, I think it's always disappointing when your favorite platform brings ads in because it's just such a slippery slope. And once it becomes about like
Yeah.
the money and pleasing the shareholders, then what
It's
they,
like they say right now, these ads will not influence the results. But at some point in the future, what if a company wants to pay you so that their information comes up first? What if they want their reference featured first? Would you turn down that money or would you allow it to happen? They're saying they won't do it now, but as you said, slippery slope.
yes, yes. But and we'll see how that turns out. I'll still be using the platform. I'm definitely going to test out the new Buy with Pro feature, which was interesting because when I was doing the research on it, they didn't really say specifically if this would affect all products through Perplexity will
Hmm.
be, available to have free shipping. They did mention that some of them, if they don't offer the free shipping option, that they'll just take you to the website and you'll check out there. So it'll be kind of interesting to see what you can actually use the Buy with Pro feature to get that free shipping. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see, but very sad to see the ads come to the platform. Very,
Yeah.
very sad.
You know what else I'm sad about?
Tell me.
Is being right. That at some point these streaming services were just going to turn into traditional cable television again. It seems to be happening because we have a story where from of course one of our favorite sources where HBO Max, which is now just called Max, but it'll always be HBO because you can't. It's like X and Twitter. No, it's HBO. I don't care what you call it. They're testing linear channels through their streaming. So what, like they already have, of course, a channel, and they have their app, but it's sort of like Pluto. You ever use Pluto? Where there'll be a section that you can go into and you can pull up whatever video you want, sort of like scheduled out on a timeline. And of course, they say it's to combat quote unquote decision fatigue from having too many choices, which I can see. Because, if I go on Pluto and the few times that I've used it and I scroll down, I'm like, okay, well, this is the Baywatch channel, and I feel like reliving my youth and watching an episode of Baywatch. I'll do that, and I'll watch it in whatever order they want to give it to me. But I think it's a trend that's going to keep happening, and it's going to spread because it's not like they're the first people to try this. Other platforms built their entire existence off of having a cable-like interface. But also, I think it appeals to people that are used to that kind of interface, like, my grandma. She's not streaming, but she's used to seeing that. So my question to you is, how many streaming services do you currently subscribe to?
And I was gonna say, I knew this day would come because it's
Uh-huh.
gotten to be too much. I
Yeah.
have Max, which I have Max through AT&T, which like I don't know if you
Me
remember.
too.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, I don't pay for it. So
yeah, we might be the last two because
I know.
they got rid of that. Like at
Yeah.
first with your AT&T plan, you could get HBO Max, but they no longer offer that. But I have Max, I have Peacock through Xfinity, which
Me
actually
too.
okay. So
There you go.
okay, there you go. And then what else do I have? I have Amazon Prime. I also through Prime, I subscribe to Shudder, which is a
course you do.
horror. Yes, of course, of course. And then I also have what else do I have? I think that might be it. Yeah. What's the Paramount Plus. I got rid of my Paramount Plus because there
I've been
wasn't
meaning
really.
to.
Yeah, definitely get on that because there's not really much. And yeah, that's basically there's so many. I feel like I'm forgetting one. But yeah, it has Netflix. How could we forget Netflix? I have Netflix.
It's like they know people want it, but they don't know how to make money from it. But then you've seen like certain I have Disney Plus, of course, and I have because it's my Marvel stuff, and I also have Paramount for Star Trek. I got to finish Lower Decks. But also, I have a few services where I have a few services. There's at least one more where I know for sure that they're like Hulu. That's what I'm thinking of, where they're like, okay, well, we're going to add commercials to your plan. If you want to not have commercials, you got to pay even more. And because they're trying to get, I'm like, oh, just like television, the whole appeal of streaming was that there were no commercials. But now that's gone. Yeah, even Netflix they don't show commercials, but they show ads before they do things, which is probably the only way they can promote their own stuff at points. But they haven't quite veered into we're gonna promote a product that Tide Pods on this before we show you this TV show or movie on Netflix. But other channels have gone that way. But like, here you go. Here are some ads, whether you like them or not. I think there's one that you can't even just opt out of them. They're required to have the ads.
Yeah, disappointing. So on Max, are you streaming? Do you have a favorite show to stream on Max or
I
what?
have I haven't watched Max in forever. I just have it for free. That's the other thing that these services decided to do is like Max is bundled, or at least was bundled, with AT&T. That's why we have it. And then Peacock is bundled with Xfinity. That's why we have it. So you look at their user bases and you're like, okay, how many people are actually paying? And how many people are getting it for free? I bet if you looked into that, not so much. And even Disney Plus and Hulu and ESPN, they all have like a joint plan that you can buy because they weren't thriving on their own. But they figured that Apple, bless them. They don't even care. They're like, we're going to make whatever shows we want. And if you see them, you see them. If you don't, you don't. Never promote them, but they're like really good shows, better than some other networks. But Yeah, they haven't figured out how to do that yet, but they're in the same boat as a lot of these other companies that just don't know how to promote their own shows off of, their own streaming platform.
Are you, first of all, are you into cars?
If someone said, "Oh my goodness, a car just drove out of here and I think they hit my mailbox," I'd be like, "I don't know what car it is. I can't identify it. I can't help you. Was it blue?" That's
Yeah.
all I got. So tell me, educate me.
Yes, I'm also in the same boat. Before I bought my 2015 Honda Accord, could even point out what a Honda Accord looked like in a lineup if my life depended on it. But last month, Jaguar made a lot of changes and they received a lot of backlash. So let's break it down. So Jaguar introduced a new logo and a promotional video featuring models and vibrant attire. And in the commercial, there was no car. So that was the first thing. And then with the public backlash, some people said that, of course, this was too woke. There was a lot of diversity in the commercial, which not sure why that would be a problem, but the internet. So that was also another issue. And then another issue was just the move that they're making to just focus on electric vehicles, which is the main point of all of these changes. And have you seen the commercial at all? Should we take
No, I have not.
let's take a little, so let's look at the commercial, pull it up. So that was the commercial.
That was
As you can
horrible.
see, no car,
No.
which beautiful commercial, beautiful. No car, very interesting. So that part of the backlash I kind of get. Now the logo, I mean, I guess that's a really important thing to the brand. And of course, changing logos is you can lose a lot of loyal customers who have followed this British company for decades and decades. How do you feel about the new logo?
Well, Emmanuel, you and I work for the same company. And do you know the trouble that happens with just like you can't just change a logo? It's got to go through a lot of iterations. It's got to go through a lot of sign-offs. And there's a reason why that is. It's that way because logos are important to people. It's how they identify things. I think we did a whole thing on logos at one point. Someone was talking about logos and the importance of them. And some logos have gone through changes over the years, but those are very far and few in between. Like you might see maybe every decade something might change. So while Jaguar, of course, should at some point update the logo if they feel that way, they have to be very careful about how and when they do it. I think doing it here was bad because the commercial is not great for the car. I think there are certain there's an oeuvre of car commercials, and I've worked on a few car commercials, and they all sort of look the same. And when you deviate from that, of course, you draw attention to it, but it can be a little off-putting to people. Because I looked at this and like, what is this for? Is this a fashion week thing? What is happening here? And that's only because I don't see a road. I don't see a car. I don't see someone driving with their hair blowing through the wind. I don't hear Sam Elliott doing a voiceover. You want to drive a Honda or whatever he does. Like, that's what I'm expecting. And then when you do something different, that can happen. Spotify Wrapped dropped. Ooh. And the funny thing is, it's the time of the year that everyone loves where they get to see the cringe music they listened to the entire past year, see that they listen to certain songs that they might not want to remember because they were attached to personal emotional events, and certain songs that they don't want to share with people, so they don't ever actually post what their list is. But also the time of year that we make fun of Apple users because they have their own Apple Wrapped, but it's not as cool. But Spotify did something new and exciting this year. They decided to do an AI podcast. Or rather, if you have done your Spotify Wrapped, you can go to a website, and it's also in the app once you actually get your Wrapped. And hear a virtual podcast, an AI podcast about your musical tastes. And the cool thing is, this is relates to a video that Emmanuel did not too long ago about Google, about the LM project, the NotebookLM, which allows you to make a podcast or generate an AI podcast about anything. Emmanuel, did you listen to your actual, AI podcast about your music taste?
I did. I have a lot of thoughts on this year's Spotify Wrapped. So I did listen to the podcast. And like you mentioned, did a video on it, basically just like walking through how NotebookLM can actually generate a podcast. Never would I have thought that Spotify would have taken that to incorporate it into the Spotify Wrapped, because I feel like it's lazy. And the podcast was fine. It basically just talked about, it was just two people reflecting on my music taste and my top artists and all of that. So it was fine, I guess. But the big issue with this year's Spotify Wrapped and why a lot of people are unhappy with it is just because it doesn't have all the cool interactive, features that it's had in previous years. Normally, I think in the previous year, there was with last year's Spotify Wrapped, it would show you, like location, like where,
Yeah.
your music taste, or like how many people that have the same music taste as you, like what state they, all are located in. There was personality, like tests attached to, your Wrapped. There was all different things. And this year was really missing that. And on Twitter, some people have been kind of speculating that, Spotify, they did do some layoffs recently this year. And so some people believe, and it was alleged that Spotify, they said that Spotify, because they let go of all those people, this year's Wrapped, they had to rely on AI to generate it. And I, obviously with the podcast, I can see that some of that is true. With like the animations and the graphics, who can say? But this year's was very disappointing. I'll never switch over or even like give Apple Wrap recap a chance. So Spotify, you haven't lost a customer, but this was just really disappointing because you look forward to it every year, and the animations and the tiny little like personality things that are attached to it. And this year, it kind of felt like they just were like, here, have it. Please leave
It
us
was
alone.
not great. One of my favorite creators, Dan Toomey, he's a comedian. He did a bit last year about the sound town. I think I shared it with the entire group about what certain sound towns mean. He did one about the AI generated podcast this year, which I think is hilarious. But ultimately, it's all lackluster. And it's sad because I've enjoyed Spotify Wrapped, even if I hate that they tell me I really was into ABBA back in April. But yeah,
Well, who's your top artist?
I think it was Megan Thee Stallion.
Megan Thee Stallion. Okay. Mine was Kalila. I don't know if you.
I think you shared her.
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
I did. So there was that, I guess. But yeah, well, I hope next year is a little bit better. And I hopefully they take this, feedback, because it's on Twitter, it's on TikTok. I'll be doing a video on it because it was really, really disappointing. So hopefully Spotify, you take the feedback and actually put the effort into Spotify Wrapped next year. But another topic that we also kind of recently realized that happened towards the end of November, YouTube announced some new features. Well, back in September, during their Made on YouTube creator event, they announced a couple AI features that were going to be added. Now, one of them was an inspiration tool. And basically, it's an inspiration tab in YouTube Studio, which will offer AI powered suggestions for video ideas, titles, thumbnails, and outlines, aiming to streamline the content creation process. And recently, we both noticed that that inspiration tab is finally there. Now, when everything was announced, they kind of said that all of the features would kind of come out in 2025, but this feature is now officially on the platform. And as two content creators, how do you feel about YouTube introducing this new AI tool and with more AI features to come?
I feel bad for vidIQ.
Oh,
I feel bad for
yeah.
TubeBuddy. Why? Well, TubeBuddy, I ain't been thinking about them in a while.
Yeah.
But with vidIQ, it's the same thing as what was it? Dark Sky and Apple acquired them. They take the things that they like from these outside companies and they integrate it into their own platform. The whole thing is, if you're going to do that, since it is your platform, you should technically do it better. But I'm not quite sure yet. There were some things there that we were a little bit confused by when we were looking at them. I like it for title generation.
They had some good titles.
Yeah, and they have an outlining feature where they'll outline the script for you
Yeah.
that they think you should do. But at some points, you look at their topics like, well, this topic doesn't do well. I'm like, well, why are you putting it on the page for me to try and make a video on? What are you trying to say here?
Yeah.
A little confusing. I think it needs more work. How about you, Emmanuel?
Yeah. I mean, the titles, they looked good. I'm still going to stick with vidIQ. vidIQ has not let me down thus
Never.
far. But it's not surprising. vidIQ has done very, very well for themselves. So it's not surprising that YouTube was like, hey, I see them, they're doing something well. And with vidIQ, you can download it and have it on your browser. So anytime you're on YouTube, you'll get vidIQ analytics. So I don't think this is definitely the start of YouTube pulling from some of those vidIQ. And I wouldn't be surprised if at some point, YouTube says, actually, no more vidIQ analytics on our website.
Yep.
It'll just be YouTube analytics. I fear that is the
uBlock
future.
Origin.
Yes, I fear that is the future.
Yeah. Also, if you notice for the UX, because we're also UX experts, I just decided that right now. Whenever you go to the section that has the inspiration tab, you can't go there directly. It will take you to the tab you're used to seeing.
Yeah.
But that tab that they want you to start going to is right next to it, to the left of it. Now, YouTube has always had tools to help you be inspired, not this good, if you can call it good. But those ones are always like way off to the side, and you'd have to really be looking for them to find them. This time, they're making it known. They want you to notice it.
Yeah.
I know you're not ready yet, but at some point, I'm sure it will default to that section at some point.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Now, let's get to this one topic that I've been waiting for you to talk about, because this one is new to me. These tattoos.
There are apparently brainwave reading temporary tattoos that you can get that have they can work like a traditional EEG for people that have to do this all the time to make it a little easier on them. They're temporary, so of course you're not going to be there the entire time. And they can accurately detect alpha brainwaves when they're put on the back of your neck. So, my question to you, Emmanuel, if you could get a Samsung Pay or Google Pay or Apple Pay tattoo on your wrist and just tap your wrist every time you want to pay for something, would you do it?
No, I wouldn't. As much as I love Samsung, I mean, if it was now, I wouldn't go as far as getting a tattoo. If they put it in the the Galaxy ring, if they put it in something like that, I would use it. But actually getting a tattoo or even something like this, I feel like this is like way, way too extreme.
What if it could be anything you want? What if it was like the TR logo on your arm forever?
Then you know what? I would do it.
There you go.
For TR. Yes. I would do it. But yeah, this just, I don't know. I don't know. I'd be scared of what could go wrong. Like how much testing has actually gone into this? Like what are the results from the trials?
A few silver nanoparticles and a special ink.
Yeah. So I don't know. Would you get something like this if it was Apple?
If it were temporary, or if it were like, because what you don't want to do is have something that is you're one stuck with, or two, that could be a security issue. Like what if someone punches me in the head and takes my arm and puts it on something and they go into a room or they pay for something? I don't want that. What an extreme example is if that's going to happen in the next, but we're also talking about nanoparticles and brainwaves. But I think this technology is good for people with these kinds of issues. I don't know about taking it as far as using it for gaming or entertainment. Do you remember that device that you could put on your head and you could steer a drone?
No, I missed out on that one.
Yeah, and there was one where you could make something move by thinking it, because what it would do is it would adjust to your brain waves. So you would go move forward, and it might not do it right away, but eventually you'll train it to know what you mean by thinking it. It's been around for a while, but it seems to be it's a technology like AI that I think will keep happening. And also all those cyberpunk movies and things, they always have like tattoos that do things. So
Yeah. So out of all the topics that we've talked about, because this will be the last episode for a hot minute, but of course it is the holidays. We'll be going on a nice little break. Justin will be going to Cancun. I won't see him if he comes back, it might just be me by my lonesome in
Oh
the new
no.
year. But out of all the topics that we talked about, what was like the biggest, the hottest of November for you?
Oh wow. Well, now I'm going to go with the Jaguar.
Really?
There's a lot of stuff to say about it, I think.
Yeah.
You?
For me, I would say Spotify Wrapped. I was really looking forward to that, and I
They
was
hurt
just.
you.
They did. They really really hurt me.
Y'all did not put the effort into it that you could have.
Exactly. And with the amount of people that use Spotify and that look forward to it, the memes that come out of Spotify Wrapped, they really really fumbled the bag this year. So
I noticed entirely that there was less talk about it this year.
yeah. So
Yeah.
see.
Hmm.
Well, that covers everything. We didn't get to talk about Vicky the robot.
Oh no!
Yeah,
No, Vicky the robot. Oh, I
yeah.
forgot. Oh, you should have reminded me.
I thought you were
And
going to
there's
bring
no
it
way to
back.
even I can't even think of how. If Vicky the robot. See, there was a show called Small Wonder
Mhm.
back in the 80s, and it was about a robot that was a child, but also I think a maid or something. But it was like the robot child maid of this
Mhm.
couple, and then she would talk like this the entire time. What can I do to help you? And like I've never forgotten that show. Apparently, it was a horrible show, but I don't remember. I don't remember it. I remember thinking it was cool when I was a kid
Mhm.
uh, in the quote unquote 80s. But yes, Vicky the robot would not have enjoyed her Spotify rap this year
Yeah,
either.
she definitely would have. She would not have at
No,
all. She would have been very
I do
disappointed.
not like this. This lacks the effort that you have usually put into it.
Well, I'm glad I had to bring it up because I'm like, oh, is he going to mention it? He's going to mention it.
I forgot.
I wasn't familiar with that show, so Justin had to, give me a little history on it. But I hope I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will be back in 2025 with more Tech and Tea. So please like and subscribe and stay tuned for more Tech and Tea in the new year. Bye, guys.